Tonight we have a really exciting presentation with a company called Matt, which is near and dear to my heart. I've been on their monarch trip to Michoacan, Mexico to see the monarch butterfly migration. Amazing. And then Debbie and I both have done their polar bear trip, which is sort of their signature event, and I'm sure Don's going to be talking a little bit about that. And with that, I'm going to quit talking and let Don take it.
My name is Don Martinson, and I'm here from Boulder, Colorado, where Natural Habitat is headquartered. And thank you to Angie and everybody at Wallace Christian Travel. I get down here a couple times a year, and I just love coming here. I feel like I'm a family, and I love the travelers that Wallace Pearson brings to see what we do, because I think that we have a pretty unique offering. Most of you are probably here because you are interested in nature and wildlife travel. We've perfected that, I think, in a unique way by developing product on all 7 continents, 46 countries over the past 32 years. And I'd like to go over each one of them in great detail. I'm going to take about 20 minutes per destination, so a big part of what we do, and really how we got started was in conservation. And a quick little blurb there that you can read. I think that in a lot of ways we've kind of reflected, now that we're almost 34 years old as a company, that we actually are more of a conservation company that uses travel as its means to teach conservation. I'll explain that a little bit better. Lots of great partnerships. The true strength of any good company is to make meaningful partnerships around the world. So, for instance, the Serengeti, we were the first non-carbon or carbon neutral company by way of our partnership with Sustainable Travel International. I won't go into all of them, but the one that's most important to us is our, just this year, 15-year partnership with World Wildlife Fund. Now, it's pretty obvious that that means that we bring them members and they bring us travelers, but there's another component about that that's really important for you as a traveler. Every one of our expedition leaders around the world has access to the research and the scientific studies that are going on in any one area, and they bring it in real time. In fact, all of our expedition leaders have recurrent yearly training with World Wildlife Fund. In some cases, we'll have a scientist on board one of our trips. So you have a local guide, an expedition leader from Natural Habitat, and a scientist in some instances. So it really augments the nature interpretation, and you have that representation. So Angie talked about this creature here in Mexico. She's probably got pictures like that. It's really become an important part for us, and it's probably the one trip that is based on one tiny little organism, and the monarch butterfly, that they roost in the trees in central Mexico, January, February, March, before they make their way up into Florida, into the Midwest, and all the way up to Canada eventually. This is Missy, a school teacher in Indiana that teaches elementary school, and she teaches biology, and she uses the monarch butterfly as a lesson in not only migration, but biology and sustainability. And she so wanted to travel with us, so we created a foundation and a scholarship fund for school teachers to apply, and then we get to send them to Mexico to visit the monarchs. And think about now how much more enriched her teaching will be that she's had a chance to do that and bring back the stories in her teachers. So Missy is going to go. So imagine 50 or 60 or as many as 100 million butterflies that are overwintering in these trees, this special type of fern tree. And they've chosen this habitat because it's cool enough and they're up high enough that they can't get predated upon. And I don't know if this happened to you, Angie, but there are instances where you get up there by either horseback ride or a short hike or in the back of an open bed truck. And when you get there, the sun is peeking up over the ridge and it hits the trees, the butterflies will take flight, sometimes to the extent that you'll hear a whoosh of wind caused by their wings. Now, if something, I can't imagine, I haven't done it myself, but from stories I've heard, that's a pretty magical moment. And again, just being with these millions and millions of butterflies and witnessing a part of their life that is the longest stage of their life. They literally suspend their reproduction system while they're there. So these butterflies live 4 times longer than the ones that we see here in the United States and in Canada because they've suspended their reproduction system. And then they will take off and fly, and they'll make it to Texas, and then they'll reproduce. And that generation will go on to the Midwest and reproduce. And then the next generation will work their way back. These butterflies are the grand baby butterflies of the ones that left Mexico 9 months before. And scientists are not sure how that signal is carried on. They've done DNA tests and said this is the derivative of a butterfly that was here a year before, but 4 generations later. So this just is an incredible lesson in resilience. And when you think how destructive and how we're losing habitat and things like that, there is a lesson where the monarchs are really resilient. And if you ever hear stories about, oh, there are 100,000 less than there were last summer, that seems like a lot. Well, 100,000 out of 50 million is not all that bad. So their numbers do. One of the biggest things, if you want to help monarch butterflies, is plant milkweed, because that's what they use to eat and to reproduce. So just get yourself some milkweed. Okay, I'll get off my soapbox for a minute and stop talking about this partnership and get into the fun stuff. But before I do, in the back of the catalogs or somewhere in the catalog, there's just this really neat page that talks about the value of conservation travel. This is one of my favorites. The value of a tiger, a live tiger in India, equates to $750,000 that they get by seeing a live tiger in the wild for the permits and all the things that it brings to tourism, the infrastructure. And then another one, 7.7 million jobs in Africa. And this is widely underestimated. 35.5 million. We have a lot of involvement in the Wolf Project in Wyoming, in Yellowstone, probably closer to $50 million right now. So some fun facts for you to check on. We are innovative. So when we've been doing a lot of trips for the 33 years, it's always important to keep them fresh. We don't necessarily have to reinvent the wheel, but we want to be innovators. And Wallace Pearson Travel and Natural Habitat belong to a travel organization called Virtuoso, and they bring the best of the best together, the best agencies and the best suppliers. We were the award winner for the most innovative experience last year that we're very much proud of, and that was for our polar bear excursions that we do in Churchill, as you mentioned that. So every October and November, we take groups of 15 people to Churchill, Canada, by way of Winnipeg, and you literally do not need to have much that you're wearing right now, whether it's shorts, because we provide you with the warm parkas and the boots. You probably don't want to wear shorts and Birkenstocks. You get the idea. Literally layers and a fleece, some long johns, and you're good to go. Charter flight in Winnipeg up to Churchill, and then we take you out on the tundra in this Polar Rover. It's a state-of-the-art vehicle built specifically for us, and we don't own anything because that would take away the revenue from the locals. So we have a contract where we have full access to Great White Bear's Polar Rovers. The windows on the side slide down. We only put 15 people on a rover that holds 30, so you're guaranteed a window seat. The front windshield is canted forward, so there's Great Bear viewing there. On the side, the back area is wonderful, where the bears come up and say hello. And what we did about 10 years ago, on the suggestion of one of our expedition leaders, we removed the sheet metal in that back area so that you can actually see the bears right on the toe. And another remarkable thing, I'm not going to say it'll happen to everyone, but we have had travelers that have literally gotten down on their hands and knees, and it's about 30 below zero Celsius, which is, 5 degrees. It's cold. Your cheeks are cold. But imagine getting so close to a bear, in this case a sow, and feel the polar bear breath on your cold cheeks. That has happened, and when that happens, that is what we call a great investment in nature travel on the suggestion of a guide that helped us do that. We go back to Churchill in January, February, and March when the bears are long gone. They've moved well out onto the Hudson Bay. And we go up there for Northern Lights and Arctic culture. It's about meeting the Inuit during the day and hearing their stories and building igloos with them. And at night, we have our innovation of an Aurora pod. So even though Churchill is a tiny little town, you want to get away from any light possible, and we would do that and bundle everybody up, and you'd be standing out in the boreal forest with heavy coats and parkas, and it's still cold, so we created an Aurora pod, which is a heated glass top structure. And while our guys will set up their cameras on a tripod and get that perfect setting of aperture and shutter speed and let the camera do the work, we're inside having a party. We got our little bar set up, we got hot toddies, chocolate, whatever, and while we're playing music and have a good old time inside while the lights are dancing outside. So that's a wonderful innovation. Dog sledding during the day, as I said, building igloos. This is my favorite picture most of all. This was taken during a full moon, so you have this light diffusion, this soft diffusion of light, and fresh snow. The traveler that sent to us entitled it Marshmallow Aurora, because it just looks like these giant marshmallows and soft Aurora Borealis. Anyone remember Deadly Scotch, the Time Bandit? Well, we charter this vessel every summer and we call it the Natural Habitat Versus. We cleaned it up and softened it up and turned it into an 8-passenger liveaboard while we are hugging the shallow bays of Kukok Bay and Hallow Bay on the Katmai coast of Alaska. Silver Seas, it is not. Ritz-Carlton, it ain't. It is very utilitarian, but for the traveler that really wants to have an amazing experience and get out with the bears, there's none other than this. And you're going to be putting your hand up to your mouth like you're saying, how is this possible? Hold your questions for a little while and I'll answer them. This is 8-day long. We get to Kodiak, fly across on a float.
When you're watching bears, there is nothing else in the world. All other stresses, all other thoughts become secondary or disappear altogether. There is nothing else in the world besides that bear right there. I really enjoy showing people bears for that reason, because it feels like when we're together as a group watching bears, we are everything. There's nothing else out there. There's no traffic, there's no alarm clocks, nothing like that. It's all just that moment right there. It's it. I'm kind of the mediator between the bears and the group. People like to think a bear experience is black or white. This happens, this happens. It's much more nuanced than that. You're actually having a dialogue with bears. It's all about being able to interpret what the bear is saying. And they're excellent communicators. They'll tell you exactly what is on their mind. And you have to react appropriately. That's the most common thing that people don't realize before they come, is they tend to think they're removed from the wildlife. You are sitting there in this little bubble and it's not interacting with you. Well, when you go out on the Katmai coast, when you come out bear viewing with us, we're part of the equation. And our part of the equation is to behave in a predictable, calm manner that puts the bears at ease. And as a result, you'll have bears walk right by you, just doing what bears do, completely natural. We're not really into meeting expectations. We tend to blow the expectations out of the water. Somebody says, oh, I'm gonna go see bears. We don't see bears. We are part of the wildlife viewing experience. Just being out there with a group of people and having the camaraderie, experiencing it together is pretty powerful. And it always amazes me how everybody can have one experience but interpret it completely differently. And so one of the fun things is going back to the ship in the evening and saying, well, what were you thinking when that bear did that? Or this is what I thought about this situation. Yeah, it varies dramatically person to person. Some people might be, oh, that was scary. And other people will say, oh no, that was the greatest thing I've ever seen. It's about the wild places and getting to these wild places. And there's no place in the lower 48 you can be this completely removed from everywhere else. It's looking for the new, it's looking for the wild, it's looking for what's around the next bend and what's in the next cove, what bears are we gonna see. It's about just getting out there and doing it. You could be sitting home watching this on TV, but no, you're not. You're going to do it. You're not going to let somebody else have this experience for you. The trappings of town just kind of fall away. Everybody comments and says, oh, so glad my cell phone doesn't work. So glad there's no internet. Suddenly you're more in tune with the tides and the winds than you are with the watch on your wrist. These places that have a more primal rhythm or feel, it awakens something in people. I went from trying to plan a life around living in a city to figuring out ways to be not in a city. Success is being out on a boat watching bears. Like that's my office. That's what I want to do. I'm kind of here. Like this is it. This is where I want to be. When you're out there, you want to be nowhere else other than that spot right at that moment. And that, honestly, is something that I feel a lot. And it makes me very happy.
All right, there's always a question, how is that possible? These bears have never been hunted. They are not an interior grizzly bear that's been hunted where they're wary of us. They're in such a remote area. That's one. Two, there's a hell of a lot of salmon and clams, and when that runs out, we get out of it. Salmon and clams, we're okay going there, but they really are, in essence, a little bit like an habituated mountain gorilla that has, through time with bear biologists that have come to get to know them, then allowed travelers to come and visit in small groups. That's why that's such a special trip. And I really do love what Drew says, that we're part of the bear equation. We're not just seeing Alaska, we're actually part of it. And a good friend of mine, I know some of you have traveled with Lindblad, she said that when you go with Lindblad to Alaska, you're feeling Alaska, you're not just seeing it. And I think that that's very much the case with us, and especially in this trip. So I read something, and I wish I could remember I'll find it later when Olaf's speaking, but I too love the quote that traveling is more than going to seek out new landscape, it's to come back with new eyes. And I think that the average natural habitat traveler does come back with a new set of eyes to appreciate what they've seen and how to look at the world as we move forward. So thank you very much. Not only a dear friend, but one of the most renowned exploration people on the planet. He really is a pioneer of ecotourism and adventure travel, and we only get to see him a couple times a year, so I make sure that I drag him with me on the dog and pony show. And he's going to talk about 3 very, very special trips that he himself developed for natural habitat. So
is that video the grizzly encounter? That video?
That's the grizzly encounter. Yeah, if you go onto our website, you can find it.
Yes.
Yeah, great. Come on up, Olaf.
Okay, thank you very much, Don.
You're welcome.
Well, yes, I was here 21 years ago, Angela, and thank you for inviting us back. I remember I came here, this was, in those days I was not so professional, so I always tried to mix fun with speaking about adventures. So I remember we went out kayaking out here in the currents, and I showed up with a spray skirt and sank on my feet and everything. None of this fancy white shirt stuff, no. But I remember that evening after having played in the waves out here, then you had arranged for me to have like a very fancy bed and breakfast with all knickknacks all over. It was like I will continue on the spirit of Don's great presentation, and I'm going to talk about 3 places. Because one is big and we're going to be here all night. And the 3 places I'm going to talk about is Antarctica, Galapagos, and Greenland. All these 3 places are on the WWF Priority Conservation Area list. So they fall very well into what we are doing. So let's start off with Greenland, which I spoke a little about last time I was here, but in another context. And just to give you a short, brief introduction to Greenland, it is the biggest island in the world, right? It is the second biggest ice sheet, largest island in the world, second largest ice sheet. So it's a huge place, and amazing things are happening in Greenland right now. For instance, it's melting. For many years, this coast, the Greenland east coast that we'll talk about now, have been quite isolated because the ice from the North Pole rotates around like this. A lot of snow falls here, and then it gets pressed up between Iceland and Greenland. And all this is ice that creams down the east coast, and then one of these icebergs here, this white stuff in the ocean, will hit the Titanic down here, right? So that's the model. The ice cannot get out here in the Bering Strait and not through the Narrow Strait either. So this has created this wall which has made eastern Greenland one of the most remote areas in the world, even today. The other two are the north coast of Siberia and the backside of Antarctica. So it's been quite a challenge to take people in there. I've done it for 26 years, done expeditions all over, simply because it is so wild, but at the same time, it has a nickname called the Arctic Riviera. And it's the Arctic Riviera because all that moist weather that comes from the west and goes over the ice cap gets dried out, and then you have no precipitation on the backside. So it's dry. It is cold. It's between 5 degrees Celsius and 15 degrees Celsius. So that's 30, what is that, 40, from 40 to 70 roughly, right? But everybody who I talk to about Greenland, and I'm very excited about it, every time we talk about it, always ask me one question: is it cold? And the answer is clear: no. First of all, go to the dry air, and also you can just dress normally with fleece like this. I never take my fleece off, I even wear it in Florida. So, here's a picture that demonstrates why this is called the Arctic Riviera. You see this thing? That's actually ice. So it's a proof that this is in Greenland. It's a complete wild place. Most of the peaks on the east coast is unexplored and unnamed, and people, humans, really is set in a big perspective in that place. We used to do a lot of kayaking expeditions with Mountain Travel Circuit, with my own company, Explorers Corner, where we took people all over, really not knowing what we were doing. Okay? But it was great adventure. Sometimes we'll take a sailboat in, sail through those ice masses, and go in and find new unexplored places on the coast. When I joined Natural Habitat as the Chief Exploratory Officer, CEO, my task was to open up our type of clients. Those people who want to go to beautiful places, but don't want to spend 3-4 weeks in a tent and not have a shower. Okay? Because you all like to have a shower, right? So, fortunately, right now there is the last couple of years, there's been an opening to get to the east coast of Greenland, and that is the American base of Kutusuk, right here, near the capital of Eastern Greenland, called Tasila. So now you can fly from Iceland in 1.5 hour flight, and you have flown over that ice wall, and now you're there. So then it was my task to find a place in here where we could build a luxury camp. Okay? Kind of a safari camp, where we would set it up every summer, make it super nice, and then take it down in the fall again. And we had to find the right place, so we went up there, we flew up there, and 3 years ago we identified the place, and the program has been going on now for 3 years. So this is how it looks when you fly over Greenland. I'm sure many of you have seen it when you've flown to Europe. It's just immense, unnamed fjords, and etc., etc. And here is the ice cap of Greenland. So you would fly into Kutusuk, and from there you would take a helicopter out to the capital. It's about 10 minutes ride, and you fly over the ocean where the icebergs are, and underneath you can see Norway is playing in the cold water. Incredible. Come to the capital here, and this is a city of 2,800 people living in these monopoly houses built by the Danish government for the Inuits. For us, it's really important when we get there that we get connected with the East Greenlandic Inuits, okay? And because it has been such a remote part of Greenland, their development has been delayed incredibly. So you still have some of the original hunter Inuit Eskimo cultures and what they represent, which is absolutely wonderful. And I have friends there that have given me so much from a personal perspective. Here's a woman here drum dancing, and we meet some of my Musha friends. Don and I went doctoring here last year, shows us how to do dog sitting and so forth. So apart from going to Greenland to see the great nature, there's an amazing cultural perspective that needs to be enjoyed. You also have to watch out for the traffic, not to hit a dog sled in the winter, otherwise we end up in the local graveyard. Because of the global warming, which is happening very quickly, 6 times faster than anywhere else in the world, the ice tongue that protects that coast is slowly disappearing. And one of the good things about that is, one of the few good things about that is that the whales are coming up. So whale watching is becoming fantastic in Greenland. We have gray whales, blue whales, humpback whales, minke whales, and sei whales, and now whales. So we go out and look for whales and are always successful in finding some. This particular slide is a fin whale going right underneath the little dinghy that we used for the exploratory trip. This was the NatHab staff that went out with me as the leader to find this potential new campsite for our luxury camp. And this is what happened when we came close to the future campsite. Anyhow, flew into Kulusuk, helicopter, and then up in this area here, we would then establish a base camp, the first of its kind in the world, in eastern Greenland, next to this amazing, one of the biggest fjords, the Sermelik Fjord in Greenland, that calves a lot of ice on some enormous glaciers up here. The glacier areas here that are feeding this fjord here is double the size of Connecticut. So quite big. This is this whole glacier around here. Okay? So we fly in the helicopter, and of course a camp like that has to have a helicopter platform in case of emergency. And also we decided that our clients should have fresh, good gourmet food. So we actually fly food with the airplane from Iceland and then with a helicopter out to this camp. So you have your fresh tomatoes every day. That's the flight over the glacier. This is the Sermelik Fjord here that is fed by these big glaciers. As I said, in the old days, this was the only way you could do expeditioning in Greenland. Small tent carried either on your back or in your kayaks and not showering for many weeks. So this was a no starter from natural habitat. So I started doing some research, and we found a way to build a luxury camp. Here we are in the process of getting all the stuff into the campsite. This is a microwave oven. Of course, every campsite has to have a microwave oven, right? It's driven by a generator. But that year there was a lot of ice coming into the camp, so we had to man-haul 49 tons of gear from the little place where it was offloaded the boat into camp. This particular oven here was nicknamed Sara because it weighs 350 kilo, and we had 6 guys to carry it. So every time we carried it, we were chanting Sara, Sara. And Sara was a woman in the NatHab office who procured that without knowing that you have to go rather lightweight in Greenland to survive. But we got it in there, and we started also making channels, ice breaking with small dinghies into camp like this. We'll put heavy gear in and then just ram the boat up with 120 horsepower engines and just break the ice, because we had to build that camp that spring, that summer, because we had already 11 full departures coming. They were signed up, people were signed up, they bought their tickets, so we better get a camp set up in there. So we worked, but the good news is that in Greenland there's 24 hours of sunlight. And here's the result. So we take exploration structures, you know, Canadian mineral exploration structures, and then we make them beautiful with a deck, and inside you'll see beautiful pictures of what a cabin is like, a tent cabin, okay? Two beds, an ensuite bathroom. Thank you so much. So, and here you have the mess hall, and I'll show you later. Mess hall here. We have eight cabins in total, and this is quite a feat. The point was that these cabins had to be taken down in September because it snows up to 8 meters of snow in this valley here, so everything is completely covered. Don and I went there dog sledding last year, and we had to dig down to find the ground, deep down. So we have to make these cabins collapsible. That's the yurt that we constructed last year, where we have our lectures, our naturalists entertained, and people sit on the deck drinking their scotch with England's ice in. And here you can see how Martha Stewart went crazy. This plant is not local. It's actually out of plastic, and there was really a fun story of how Sarah had bought this wonderful bowl filled with potpourri, okay, to make it pretty, right? I mean, the Inuits came in and said, "What is this? You can't eat it. You can't feed it to the dogs, and you can't shoot it. It's worth nothing." Okay? So yeah, that's the thing. Potpourri. Now, given that we now have the basis for a comfortable life after growing up in the nature, we know how to get out in nature. And for that, we bought a couple of expedition zodiacs at the same time that you see in Antarctica, right? And the Antarctic boats. So we are out there in the big fjord systems doing trips, finding old Inuit ruins, going to this fjord in here around the corner has 28 glaciers falling into the ocean. 28. And all you hear are these, we call it the Greenland coastal artillery, okay? That's how noisy it is. Click, 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 click is all what you hear when you sit in that boat. Now we cannot go all the way up to the bottom of the Sandley Fjord because up here in Connecticut, up here, right? Remember Connecticut up here? Some huge glaciers, and they have a speed of about 30 feet a day. Wow. 30 feet a day. And of course, right now it's going faster and faster. So we don't get people up there, we put them on ice floes just to get a good picture of them. And then we have kayaks, because kayaks is the way to go if you want to get away from engines, get away in the total quiet. You just put your paddle down on the deck and all you hear are the crackling ice around you. And yes, we have a lovely excursions with kayaks as well as hiking trips from camp. This is my buddy here reading my chart. And of course we have dogs around camp because we have to have dogs to guard the camp against polar bear intrusions. The polar bears are now coming ashore to Greenland, but they're very hungry because there's no more ice, right? They swim, in the old days they were running on the ice from Spitsbergen to Greenland. It's a journey of 300, 400 miles. And then they will have eaten all the seal on the ice, but now there's no ice. So they come ashore very hungry. And what they have done now, these bears, they have adapted themselves to actually eat eggs and fish salmon. So this fantastic animal has very quickly, within 20 years, completely changed its eating habits. So that's how wonderful evolution works. So they will not die out, they have just changed their way of behavior. Hiking trips while the aurora flashes overhead, or just photographing wonderful iceberg rolling like wounded whales in the ocean. We love it, and I would say that if you ever have thought about going to Iceland, which many people do today, that's just the appetizer, okay? Greenland is the main dish. So definitely go to Iceland a few days, have the first sniff of that Arctic air, and then hop on a plane, go to Greenland, and you will have what I call Arctic fever the rest of your life. We don't know what's going to happen to the Greenlanders and maybe the race. They're happy right now because the ice is melting so fast. And lots of fish are coming up. We even have yellowfin tuna in southern Greenland now. Yellowfin tuna. Yellowfin tuna is a subtropical fish. It's now being seen at the tip of southern Greenland. So, but they say one thing to me, my friends. They say, we're a little worried because things are happening too fast. We don't know what's going to happen, but it's happening too fast. That's their instincts. So, jumping from the north to the south, my second area, the second World Wildlife Fund priority areas is the Antarctica. And I have many years, after I saw you, Angela, I took some crazy expeditions down to the Antarctic Peninsula and also South Georgia, kayaking, the first kayakers down there. So I came to Natural Habitat suggesting, why don't we do a trip to Antarctica? Small group, great expedition leaders, and the best accommodations you can have under those circumstances. So we decided to find a boat that could sail us from Ushuaia down to the peninsula, then do expeditioning down here, and then fly home, down here, and then expeditioning down here with a boat, and then fly back to Punta Arenas, so we only have to cross the Drake's Passage once. Because you don't want to go on the Drake's Shape, you want to go on the Drake's Lake.
Right.
Now we have a small boat, and I'll show you a picture of you in a minute. And the advantage of a small boat and a very good skipper is that when he's tucked in the cove behind Cape Horn, he can look at the satellite images, right? And he can see that a fast, low pressure is going through, and then he can wait half day, and then he can go. If you're in a big boat that only has a very short compressed itinerary, you have to go. So we have more flexibility playing with the weather systems when we have a smaller boat. This is the smaller boat, 75-foot ketch, steel ketch from Australia. The skipper is Australian, and he has spent 35 years in the high Arctic and also in the southern latitude, so he knows what he's doing. So go across the Drake's Passage, and then you come into Paradise Ridge. How many people have been to Antarctica here? Did you love it?
Love it.
Yes.
Life changing.
Well, life-changing.
Spiritual.
Spiritual.
Never saw land.
Huh?
Never saw land.
You never saw land.
We had bad weather.
You had better weather. Well, I will guarantee you this trip, you will see it. You will step in penguin shit, okay?
You stepped in a lot of pages, you know.
Right?
Absolutely.
So anyhow, I'm sure you went to Paradise Bay, which is one of the greatest places, but Paradise Bay is a lot of small fjords, right? And with a small boat, you can really go into arms and coves and so forth that you cannot do with big ships. The whales are already coming out, and you can get really close to them even if you go in a kayak, also when you go in a kayak. So we have also a kayaking option on this trip. Getting close with a kayak is very easy. I mean, as you know, the penguins are very tame, but to be in this interface between the land and the ocean in a kayak with them is really where you want to be to observe them. Or maybe you want to get a little closer to the whales. This is in Paradise Bay, and here you can really smell that bad breath of the Catives. And they do stay, for sure. Or we'll hop up in our tender and go a little closer to them, to the whales as well. So it's a very, very intimate experience. I'm so sorry we never stepped on our land, but I will show you the slide instead, okay? So, and this picture is taken from the kayak. So wildlife is intense there, and it's really one of the most wildlife intense areas in the world. Just like the Serengeti is it's at certain times. So if you're a wildlife enthusiast, you must go to Antarctica. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And if you're crazy enough, like this 78-year-old woman, to slide down a hill here, having a fun, frolic, then you will have even more fun. We encourage that kind of behavior. Another behavior we encourage is to camp. So because I've done so many crazy trips down there and never made a mistake, never spilled a drop of kerosene, always cleaned up ourselves, we now have an array of permits for 28 camps, places that we can camp in on the Antarctic Peninsula through the National Science Foundation. Okay, so if we have certain kinds of weather, we decide to go over here, we have 5 options. Depending on the wind, we go in here. At 7 o'clock at night, after dinner, we ferry people in, and then we put up the tent, and we give them sleeping bags, and they get to sleep one night on the Antarctic continent, which is a fabulous experience. It sounds scary, it is optional, but it's actually nice to get off the boat as well. So to come here with your camera, and wake up in the morning, and you get the sunrise behind the penguin, and you have time, because often on many Antarctic expeditions, you don't have time. You have to go to Hannah Point, 2 hours later, we have to go back to the buffet lines in the big ship, right? There are no buffet lines here, okay, I can guarantee you. So that's just a little extreme trip, but if you're up for it, if you have a little bit of zing in your adventurous mind, that's the way to do it. So let's go from the cold places to my favorite trip. And I think, I never spoke about this trip when I was here last time, Angela, but when I left in Mount Telescope, I really wanted to go to Galapagos. So I got my folding paddle and my folding kayak, and I flew to Galapagos because I wanted to paddle from island to island. I mean, it did involve some night crossings, that was okay, but I got arrested because you're not allowed to do this. I didn't have any permit, I just want to go paddling around, whatever. What? They got me, and then they told me, go back or just hang out in Punta. Well, I found a little catamaran, actually a horrible one, okay? And this woman, she was crazy, but okay, let's start a program. So she took me around in this catamaran, I paid her a little money for it, and based on that trip, we got a permit to kayak in Galapagos. So later when I got involved in Natural Habitat, I sold that permit to Natural Habitat. So now we have the only really sea kayaking trip permit in Galapagos. That doesn't mean that the trip is a sea kayaking trip. It just means that that's one option to do sea kayaking along the shores where nobody else goes. Have you, any of you been in Galapagos? You've been everywhere.
Yeah.
No, good.
I've been
You like it?
Yes,
You like
very much.
wildlife, huh?
Yes, and we kayak.
Great. However, you did not kayak like we did.
Probably not.
Because I know, kayaking is wonderful. And what they do, they put your kayak in the water and then you go a little bit, get it down around the day.
Right.
We don't do that. Okay? We get in the water and then we paddle 2-3 hours along the coast, inside some caves, through some arches. There's one cave in Santa Fe Island. You went to Santa Fe Island. You go around that corner, the big swirl there, and then you go in the bay and into the cave where all the sea lions are.
I'm jealous.
It's just people.
We didn't do that kind of thing.
No, but it's not difficult. It's not difficult because we paddle on the north side of the islands. So the Antarctic swells with the south side.
With the current, right?
No, we go in on the leeway side. So on the north side, for instance, Santa Fe, right? That little bay there. We're on the north side. Follow the north coast. Then we curl in. We don't go down on the southern coast where the Antarctic swells come in. So there are lots of opportunities there. So that's the trip that I can highly recommend have you not been to Antarctica yet. And I want to do something special. Small group again, 2 expedition leaders for 14 people, and then just a lot of fun activities. For instance, here on Floriana, remember Floriana? Post Office Bay?
Yeah.
Post Office Bay? Okay, so we have our little boat in Post Office Bay. We got up at 5:30 in the morning. We can only be in the water at 6 o'clock a.m. Then we paddle out across the bay, right at the point, I think it's called Punta Gorda, And in that next bay, there are hundreds of green turtles popping in, and we paddle quietly, don't disturb them, and just look at the scenario. Oh, look at me. Click, 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 click. Back again to the boat, and then we are breakfast. All the other people are then waking up in the other ships in the neighbor bay, right? So it's about grabbing that carpe diem thing, right? Grab the opportunity and have the vehicles and the spirit to do that, to go out and do these things. That's what
Your
it is.
trip was all the catamaran.
Yeah, so good point. So I chose a catamaran for 2 reasons. It's big enough for the small group we have.
Which is eight.
This one is 14. My first one was 8, now it's 14. 14 people. Then it has a multi-hull, and you can put the kayaks between the two sponsors, and it's a more stable boat.
Yes,
It's a much more. And if we put the sail up, go fast. So it's a fun boat also. Yes?
2 guys.
2 guides. Yeah.
That's a big differentiator for all of our small ship vessels in Galapagos, not just this one. We put 2 expedition leaders, whether it's 14 or 16 passenger ships. And if you've been to the Galapagos, you know it's typically 15, 16 people on a shore excursion. We're maximum 8 people, usually 7. Big difference when you're going out there with a small group. You see more, you learn more. So that's the other key point to this trip, especially.
But the boat is better than when I started out many years ago, as you can see. We even have a hot tub in the boat. And great food. Here's one of the wildlife pufferfish for lunch. Here are the boats we use. So these are actually, we designed these boats here together with Feathercraft in Canada. So they sit on top, inflatable, very comfortable seats, and you can roll out of the boat and do snorkeling right from the boat. I'm not kidding.
Just jump out and snorkel?
On the first day, we tell people, let's play with these boats, okay? And we tell people to get in the kayak and then slip over. So people learn how to get back in there. And everybody can do it. Everybody can do it. And the boat, you know what happens when you do that? Your psychological distance between your brain and the surface gets much shorter. You're part of the ocean now. So I've trained the guy to do this, and it works really well. But these are some of the places we go to. I mean, you cannot get a cruise ship through here.
Just to be clear though, our snorkeling isn't always done from the kayak. We have that opportunity. We do it a lot of times. We'll go out kayaking, come back, put on our snorkel gear, and snorkel from the ship. But always, as Olaf will say, group led.
Well, let me talk about the snorkeling. So the snorkeling, we take kayaking serious in the sense of the experience, right? We also take snorkeling pretty serious. I don't think you should just dump people in the water in front of a ship and say, go snorkeling. I think you should find a fantastic submerged rock like Kicker Rock. You went to Kicker Rock? Remember that? All the current going through there?
We went through there.
Perfect. Go out there, right? And then you have one expedition leader in the front, you have a line of clients behind him, all partnering up, buddying up, right? And then a guide in the back. And you now travel with the current along the reefs. And you journey, you see things and points out. And he finds the cave with the 2 sharks are down there.
That's a shark. We saw the shark.
Perfect. Yeah, exactly. So we take it very serious. Many years ago, I was snorkeling with these people here, and this is the center of that place.
That's when you were 15, right?
Yeah. So snorkeling can be done really well if you really think about it. Do you follow me? Yeah. Okay. And of course, we do the same hikes, activity as everybody else does, but again with more attention to small group and more interpretation. Wildlife, I don't want to talk about the wildlife because then the sun will go down, but of course it is the cradle of evolutionary theories and very exciting biological interpretation. One of the things that we have added now on all our natural habitat trips, when you come into Galapagos, the first night you often stay in the harbor, either in Port Ayora or Port Baltra, okay? To bunker, get the fuel on board, get everything lined up for the trip we're going to do the next week. Well, that night we give our clients the option of going up to the highlands to stay in Tortoise Camp. We built this camp here in a local Ecuadorians. We stay up there in the highlands with these neighbors here. Okay? This is lovely. So there are these small things you have to think about and to fine polish the diamond so you have a brilliant building. And the way you do this is really to make it a fantastic building of Galapagos. So we have these cabins here, either treetop cabins or these cabins here. Each of them again have 2 people inside with a bathroom and so forth. So amenities are there, but very close to this amazing wildlife. And then there's a central house here where we have super gourmet dinners and a crackling fireplace. So I'll end up just giving you an emotional vignette from Galapagos.